You think you know history. You know the names that echo in school textbooks, the ones on dusty maps. But what if the greatest adventures, the most astonishing discoveries were made by figures erased from public memory, lost in the shadows of an empire? The Habsburgs ruled for centuries, their power spanning continents, yet their most daring explorers remained cloaked in obscurity. Prepare to uncover the breathtaking sagas of 6 forgotten individuals who risked everything, pushed beyond all known limits, and redefined what it meant to explore. Number 1. Archduke Ernst Victor of Habsburg-Lorraine. The year 1836 whispered with opportunity for Archduke Ernst Victor. He was not destined for the throne, a truth that chafed him like a rough woolen coat on a humid day. His elder brother carried the weight of succession, while Ernst found solace only in the turning pages of travelogues and the hushed whispers of cartographers. He had a burning need to see the world, not through the tinted glass of a carriage window, but through the grit and grime of actual journey. His proposal, audacious and barely polite, landed on his father's desk. Fund an expedition to map the elusive source of the Rio Negro, a massive tributary of the Amazon deep within the untamed wilds of South America. His father, weary of Ernst's restless spirit, grudgingly granted permission, allocating a modest sum and a handful of seasoned guards. Ernst assembled his team in the bustling port of Trieste. There was Dr. Klaus Richter, a stern botanist whose spectacles were perpetually smudged with ink or pollen. There was also Captain Anton Vogel, a retired military engineer with a knack for surveying and an unsettlingly calm demeanor. Their vessel, the Maria Theresa, a sturdy brigantine cut through the Adriatic waves, and then the vast Atlantic. The ocean crossing tested Ernst's resolve. Days blended into weeks, the monotony broken only by the shimmering wake of dolphins or the distant cries of gulls. Ernst spent his hours poring over crude maps, tracing the meandering lines of rivers that vanished into blank spaces marked unexplored. He felt a profound thrill, a pulse of anticipation for the unknown. They reached the mouth of the Amazon in late May, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth and unseen blossoms wrapped around them. The sheer scale of the river, a liquid ocean stretching to the horizon, humbled Ernst. Their journey upriver was arduous. The Maria Theresa navigated treacherous currents, dodging floating lobs the size of small houses. Swarms of biting insects descended at dusk, turning every meal into a battle. Richter, the botanist, was in his element. He filled dozens of leather-bound sketchbooks with detailed drawings of flora. One afternoon, he discovered a vibrant blue orchid clinging to a tree trunk, its petals almost glowing in the dim light of the jungle canopy. "Orchis celestis," he murmured, his voice hushed with reverence. Ernst noted the discovery in his personal diary, a small leather book that never left his side. The expedition pushed deeper, exchanging the brigantine for smaller, lighter canoes. They hired local guides, men whose knowledge of the labyrinthine waterways and the jungle's secrets proved invaluable. One of these guides, a man named Kayapol, possessed an uncanny ability to read the forest. He could identify distant bird calls, predict the weather by the feel of the wind, and navigate through seemingly identical stretches of river with unwavering certainty. One evening, a sudden tropical storm descended upon them. The rain was not merely water. It was a solid wall, tearing at the leaves, transforming the river into a churning torrent. Their canoes were tossed like toys. Ernst, soaked to the bone and shivering, clung to the gunwale, his heart pounding. Taiapo, with remarkable calm, steered their canoe towards a cluster of thick mangroves, offering a temporary shelter from the storm's fury. The experience instilled in Ernst a profound respect for the raw power of nature and the resilience of those who lived within it. As they ventured further upstream, the river narrowed. The jungle canopy overhead became so dense that the sunlight barely pierced through, creating a perpetual twilight. The air grew thick with the smell of decay and life intertwined. Captain Vogel meticulously charted their progress. He used a sextant and a chronometer, taking readings at every bend, correcting their position against the stars. visible through narrow gaps in the foliage. He discovered a series of waterfalls, previously unrecorded, that dramatically altered the perceived flow of the Rio Negro. His maps, drawn with precise lines and careful annotations, showed these cascades, each one a thundering testament to the river's power. The sound of the waterfalls was constant, a pervasive roar that vibrated through the very ground beneath their feet. Months bled into a year. Supplies dwindled. Several of the guards fell ill with fever, their strength sapped by the unrelenting humidity and unknown ailments. Ernst, though fatigued, found a deep well of determination within himself. He learned to hunt, to fish, to find edible roots and fruits. Shedding the last vestiges of his royal upbringing, he observed the unique flora and fauna. He saw jaguars stalk their prey in the moonlight. Brilliantly plumed macaws flash through the canopy, and silent, iridescent butterflies flutter over the water. He learned from Kayapo about the medicinal properties of various plants, about the intricate web of life that sustained the jungle. His journal entries became less formal, more personal, reflecting a man transformed by his surroundings. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached a point where the Rio Negro was no longer a vast waterway, but a series eventually into a cluster of small, clear springs bubbling up from the earth. The water was surprisingly cold, pristine, and sweet. Ernst knelt, cupped his hands, and drank. The moment was not marked by grand declarations or triumphant cries. It was quiet, profound, and deeply personal. He had found it, the elusive source. Captain Vogel immediately set about taking precise measurements, establishing the coordinates and drawing the final conclusive lines on his map. Dr. Richter collected samples of the surrounding vegetation, noting the unique ecosystem that thrived at the river's very beginning. Ernst felt a sense of immense accomplishment, not for any personal glory, but for the act of discovery itself. The return journey was swifter, but no less challenging. They carried back not only meticulously drawn maps and countless botanical samples, but also stories whispered around campfires, tales of perseverance against overwhelming odds. Ernst Victor returned to Vienna, a changed man, his skin bronzed, his eyes alight with a knowledge no textbook could provide. His findings, though largely confined to academic circles, redefined the understanding of Amazonian hydrography for a generation of geographers. Number 2. Countess Eleonora von Esterhazy. Countess Eleonora von Esterhazy was a woman of quiet intensity. Her passion was not for ballroom dances or courtly intrigues, but for the delicate beauty of the natural world, particularly the mesmerizing complexity of orchids. In the conservative Viennese society of 1845, a woman of her standing pursuing serious botanical studies was seen as eccentric, perhaps even scandalous. Yet, Eleonora persisted. She spent hours in the imperial botanical gardens, meticulously sketching, dissecting, and cataloging every new specimen that arrived from distant lands. Her dream, however, stretched far beyond the manicured beds of Vienna. She longed to witness the orchids in their native habitat, specifically the fabled islands of the East Indies, where tales spoke of orchids unlike any seen in Europe. Her opportunity arrived in the form of a scientific expedition being organized by the Imperial Academy of Sciences. They sought a skilled botanist to join their voyage to the Dutch East Indies, primarily to Java, to study its rich biodiversity. Eleonora, against the protestations of her family, submitted her qualification, her detailed botanical illustrations, and her published monograph on rare European fungi. A work of surprising scientific rigor swayed the committee. She was accepted. The voyage aboard the steamship Donneland commenced from Trieste in early 1846. The transition from the refined drawing rooms of Vienna to the bustling, humid deck of a ship was jarring. Eleonora, however, adapted with remarkable speed. She found her sea legs, and the constant motion of the vessel became a soothing rhythm. She spent her days in the ship's small makeshift laboratory. pressing and drying samples she collected at various port calls along the route. Upon their arrival in Batavia, the capital of Dutch Java, Eleonora was immediately struck by the overwhelming sensation of the tropics. The air was thick with the scent of spices and exotic flowers. The sounds of 1,000 unseen creatures hummed from the dense jungle that pressed in on the city. Her primary focus was the interior of Java, a land of active volcanoes and ancient untouched forests. She quickly found herself drawn to the foothills of Mount Merapi, a towering volcano whose slopes were rumored to harbor unique plant species. She traveled with a small team of local guides and porters, their machetes clearing paths through the tangled undergrowth. The terrain was challenging, steep and muddy, often slick with recent rain. Eleonora, dressed in practical, sensible clothing rather than the restrictive fashions of her time, climbed with a quiet determination. She carried her own specimen press and a sturdy magnifying glass, her eyes constantly scanning the foliage. One scorching afternoon, as they ascended a particularly dense ridge, her guide, a soft-spoken man named Javan, pointed to a gnarled, moss-covered tree, clinging to its highest branches almost invisible. Against the green was an orchid unlike any Eleonora had ever seen. Its petals were a deep, velvety black, edged with a delicate fringe of brilliant crimson. The sight took her breath away. She immediately set about sketching it, her fingers flying over the paper. Javan, with surprising agility, shinned up the tree and carefully retrieved a small cutting. Eleonora meticulously packed the cutting, ensuring its survival for the journey back to Vienna. She named it Orchidaki nigrum venetum, the black-veined orchid. This discovery, later documented in her comprehensive field notes, marked a significant contribution to botanical knowledge. Her expedition continued across Java, venturing into less explored regions. She encountered indigenous communities living in harmony with the forest, their knowledge of the local plants profound and ancient. Eleonora, with her respectful demeanor, earned their trust. She learned about their traditional uses of herbs, their cultivation techniques, and their intricate relationship with the surrounding ecosystem. She recorded their observations in her journal, adding a layer of cultural understanding to her scientific work. She noted the preparation of the specific root for healing wounds, a practice she meticulously documented with detailed illustrations of the plant itself. She also recorded their observations regarding the life cycle of a particular type of butterfly. Noting its preferred host plants and migration patterns, the climate presented constant challenges. Sudden torrential downpours would turn trails into muddy torrents. The stifling humidity made every breath a conscious effort. Malaria and other tropical diseases were a constant threat. Several members of her team fell ill, but Eleonora, with her medical kit and practical knowledge, nursed them back to health. She learned to adapt to the unpredictable environment, embracing the discomforts as part of the adventure. Her determination never wavered. She discovered a new species of pitcher plant, its dark, glossy pitchers, holding a surprising amount of water. She spent hours observing the tiny insects trapped within, noting the plant's ingenious mechanisms. Eleonora's collection grew exponentially. Her pressing cases were filled with hundreds of specimens, each meticulously labeled with location, date, and her detailed observations. She gathered not only orchids, but also ferns, mosses, medicinal plants, and various seeds. She sent regular dispatches back to Vienna, each one eagerly awaited by the scientific community. Her letters detailed her discoveries, her challenges, and her growing fascination with the intricate biodiversity of Java. She spoke of the vibrant colors of the forest floor, the piercing calls of unseen birds, and the ancient wisdom of the local people. After nearly 2 years in the East Indies, Eleonora von Esterhazy returned to Vienna. She brought with her not only an astonishing collection of botanical specimens, including dozens of new species, but also a wealth of knowledge about the ecology and ethnobotany of Java. Her black-veined orchid caused a sensation among European botanists. Her meticulous drawings and detailed descriptions helped to identify and classify countless new plants. She published several volumes on her findings, which became standard references for future expeditions. Her work fundamentally expanded Europe's understanding of tropical flora and firmly established her as a pioneering female scientist in an era that largely dismissed women's intellectual contributions. Number 3. Baron August von Kessel. Baron August von Kessel was a man driven by the Earth's hidden secrets. Born into a family of minor nobility in Bohemia, he spurned the usual military or diplomatic paths, choosing instead the rugged world of geology and mining engineering. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, with its vast mineral resources, provided a natural laboratory for his early work, but August yearned for more. He read every account of the South American Cordilleras, tales of silver mountains and gold veins buried deep within the Andes. His opportunity arose in 1820, when the Imperial Ministry of Mines sought to expand its knowledge of potential rich regions beyond European borders. From there, he led a small, determined team inland. The initial ascent into the Andes was brutal. The air thinned with every 1,000 feet gained, leaving them breathless and dizzy. Pack mules laden with geological tools, mapping equipment and provisions struggled up narrow, winding trails carved into the mountainside. August, though not a large man, possessed an extraordinary physical endurance. He seemed invigorated by the harsh conditions, his eyes constantly scanning the rock formations, his geologist's hammer never far from his hand. He meticulously recorded every strike, every color variation in the rock, every subtle shift in the strata. His field notes from this period were filled with detailed sketches of rock faces. As they pushed deeper, they encountered ancient Inca roads, some still remarkably preserved, snaking across impossibly high passes. These paths often led them to remote indigenous communities. August, though focused on geology, possessed a keen sense of observation for the human element. He noted the ingenious agricultural terraces clinging to steep slopes, the vibrant textiles woven from alpaca wool, and the quiet dignity of the people. He found that many communities had long-standing knowledge of local ore deposits, often using specific minerals for dyes or pigments. He carefully recorded their insights, cross-referencing them with his own geological findings. He discovered a vein of particularly rich copper ore used by a local village for decorative purposes. A finding he immediately marked on his expanding maps. The weather in the high Andes was notoriously unpredictable. One moment the sun would beat down mercilessly, the next a sudden blizzard would descend, trapping them for days. On one such occasion they were caught at over 15,000 feet by a raging snowstorm. The wind howled like a hungry wolf, whipping snow into blinding whiteouts. Temperatures plummeted, their supplies were low. August, despite the freezing conditions, maintained a remarkable calm. He rallied his team, instructing them to dig a snow cave for shelter. He shared his meager rations, ensuring everyone had a share. It was during this ordeal that he discovered a unique formation of crystalline quartz, glinting through the ice. He carefully chipped away a small sample, recognizing its unusual purity. The sample, later analyzed in Vienna, proved to be an exceptionally rare form of rock crystal. His most significant discovery came after months of relentless trekking. They had followed a local legend about a mountain that bled silver to a remote, desolate region. The landscape was stark, dominated by jagged peaks and vast, empty plains. After days of fruitless searching, August noticed a peculiar discoloration in a series of rock outcrops. He spent hours examining the samples. He chipped away his magnifying glass pressed to the dark, heavy stones. The samples contained an unusually high concentration of what he initially identified as a lead-silver ore. With growing excitement, he directed his team to dig test pits. The deeper they went, the richer the ore became. It was not just a vein, it was a vast, sprawling deposit, stretching for miles. He had found a colossal silver deposit, a find that if fully exploited could redefine the empire's mineral wealth. He meticulously mapped the area, drawing detailed cross-sections of the earth, indicating the depth and estimated size of the ore body. His discovery was later named the Kessel vein, in his honor. The journey back was punctuated by the incredible effort of bringing back samples. They filled dozens of sturdy wooden crates with rocks, each one a testament to the mountain's bounty. August also carried back a series of meticulously drawn maps, showing not only the precise location of the silver deposit, but also new routes through the treacherous mountains, information invaluable for future mining operations. His reports to Vienna were concise and able, detailing the immense potential of his discovery. Though the full exploitation of the Kessel vein would take decades, August von Kessel's meticulous geological survey and his discovery of one of the richest silver deposits in the Andes forever marked him as a visionary explorer of the Earth's hidden treasures. His findings were published as a seminal work for the Austrian Geological Survey. Number 4. Professor Anton Marek. Professor Anton Marek was a man of the stars, yet his feet were firmly planted on the earth, or rather, the shifting sands of the Sahara. A brilliant astronomer and cartographer at the University of Vienna, Marek was captivated not by distant galaxies, but by the practical application of celestial navigation. In the mid-1860s, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, eager to establish new trade routes and assert influence, looked towards North Africa. A bold proposal emerged, a scientific expedition to map the vast, uncharted interior of the Sahara Desert, to identify viable oases, and to create precise astronomical charts for future caravans. Professor Marek, with his unparalleled expertise in celestial mechanics and his meticulous approach to cartography, was the obvious choice to lead it. His journey commenced from Tripoli, then an Ottoman port city bustling with caravans and merchants. Marek assembled a diverse team: experienced desert guides, camel drivers, a few skilled surveyors, and a small contingent of guards. His equipment was state-of-the-art for the time: a massive transit telescope for precise star observations, several chronometers for timekeeping, sextants, and delicate barometers for altitude measurements. The sheer scale of the desert immediately overwhelmed them. Endless dunes stretched to the horizon, a sea of golden sand under a relentless sun. The silence was profound, broken only by the creak of camel saddles and the whisper of the wind. Marek, despite the immense heat, felt a surge of exhilaration. He was charting the truly unknown. His days were a rigorous routine of scientific observation. At night, under the incredibly clear desert sky, Marek came alive. He would set up his heavy telescope, carefully aligning it with the North Star. He spent hours meticulously charting the positions of stars, taking readings to determine their precise latitude and longitude. His goal was to create an unassailable network of astronomical fixed points across the desert, allowing future travelers to navigate with unprecedented accuracy. He discovered several minor discrepancies in existing star charts, which he meticulously corrected, adding new layers of precision to the body of astronomical knowledge. His star charts became legendary for their exactitude. The journey was fraught with peril. Water was the most precious commodity, strictly rationed, each drop a reminder of their vulnerability. Sandstorms, sudden and violent, would erupt without warning, turning the sky orange and burying everything in a choking cloud of fine dust. During one particularly fierce storm, they were forced to huddle under tarpaulins, the sand scouring their faces. Marek, ever the scientist, used the opportunity to record the atmospheric pressure changes, noting the sudden drops that preceded the storm's full fury. He observed the unique patterns of wind erosion on the dunes, noting how the wind sculpted the desert landscape. One of their primary objectives was the discovery and precise mapping of oases. These green islands in the vast ocean of sand were lifelines. Marek's team utilized their celestial navigation skills to pinpoint new oases, previously unknown to European cartographers. They would approach these oases with caution, their guides negotiating with the local Tuareg tribes who often guarded these vital water sources. Marek, through his calm demeanor and genuine interest in their ancient knowledge, often gained their trust. He learned about their traditional navigation methods, their understanding of desert wells, and their deep respect for the unforgiving land. He noted the unique microclimates of these oases, their surprisingly rich biodiversity, and the ingenuity of the people who cultivated them. He meticulously surveyed the size, water quality, and surrounding flora of each oasis they encountered, drawing detailed maps that included not just their location, but also their resources. His journey brought him to the legendary, lost oasis of Adrar, a place whispered about in ancient tales but never precisely located. After weeks of relentless travel across featureless plains, guided only by faint rumors and the subtle shifts in the stars, Merrick's lead guide pointed to a barely discernible smudge on the horizon. As they drew closer, the smudge resolved into a vibrant patch of green palms surrounding a crystal-clear spring. The oasis was larger than any they had encountered, a veritable paradise in the heart of the desert. Merrick immediately set up his instruments, taking dozens of readings. He spent days charting its dimensions, its water sources, and the unique flora that thrived there. He found evidence of ancient human habitation pottery shards suggesting a long history of use. His discovery of the Adrar oasis, meticulously charted and documented, provided a vital waypoint for future expeditions and trade routes across the Sahara. After nearly 2 years in the desert, Professor Merrick and his weary but triumphant team returned to Tripoli. He brought with him not only an invaluable collection of astronomical charts and detailed topographical maps, but also a wealth of meteorological data and observations on desert ecology. His findings were groundbreaking. They debunked many prevailing myths about the Sahara, revealing it not as a barren wasteland, but as a dynamic environment with complex ecosystems and hidden resources. His maps, accurate to an astonishing degree, became the definitive guides for all subsequent desert crossing. His work revolutionized desert navigation and provided a critical foundation for understanding one of the world's most formidable landscapes. Number 5. Captain Franz Leopold Richter. Captain Franz Leopold Richter, a veteran officer of the fledgling Austro-Hungarian Navy, harbored a lifelong fascination with the ocean's depths. While the Empire's naval focus was primarily on the Adriatic, Richter dreamed of distant waters, of charting unknown currents and discovering the secrets held within the Pacific. In 1888, his persistence paid off. The Imperial and Royal Naval Ministry, seeking to enhance its prestige and contribute to global scientific endeavors, approved his proposal for a circumnavigation voyage, specifically focused on hydrography and marine biology. His vessel, the sleek corvette Archduke Rudolph, set sail from Pola with a crew of determined sailors and a small team of scientists. The initial leg of their journey through the Suez Canal and across the Indian Ocean was a test of the ship's endurance and the crew's resilience. Richter, a stern but fair commander, ensured rigorous discipline. He spent hours on the bridge overseeing navigation, personally taking depth soundings and recording water temperatures. His hydrographic charts, meticulously drawn, revealed subtle but significant variations in ocean currents. He designed a new type of deep-sea dredge, a heavy net designed to scrape the ocean floor, hoping to collect specimens from previously unreachable depths. His innovative dredge design was later widely adopted by other navies. Their true mission began as they entered the vast expanse of the Pacific. Richter directed the Archduke Rudolph towards a cluster of volcanic islands, some barely marked on existing maps, others completely uncharted. The islands rising abruptly from the deep blue were breathtaking in their raw beauty. Lush vegetation clung to their slopes, and seabirds wheeled overhead in their thousands. Richter's team meticulously mapped the coastlines, taking precise measurements of bays and harbors, identifying safe anchorages and potential hazards. They discovered several previously unrecorded small islands, mere specks of land which they dutifully charted and named. Their detailed hydrographic surveys of these uncharted waters provided invaluable data for future navigators. The marine biologists on board, led by Dr. Albin Moser, were constantly at work. They deployed nets and dredges, bringing up a bewildering array of marine life. Richter himself, though a naval officer, possessed a keen interest in natural history. He spent hours assisting Moser, carefully handling the strange creatures brought up from the deep. they discovered several new species of deep-sea fish, bioluminescent creatures that glowed eerily in the ship's laboratory. They also identified a new genus of brittle stars, their delicate arms radiating from a central disk. Richter made detailed sketches of these creatures in his own journal, marveling at the ocean's hidden biodiversity. One afternoon, while surveying the waters around a particularly active volcanic island, they experienced a powerful underwater tremor. The ship shuddered, and the sea around them began to churn. Richter, sensing danger, immediately ordered the ship away from the island. They later observed a massive plume of smoke and ash erupting from the volcano's peak, a spectacular and terrifying display of nature's power. Richter, ever the scientific observer, carefully recorded the precise time of the tremor, the extent of the eruption, and the subsequent changes in water temperature and clarity. His observations provided critical data for volcanologists studying undersea seismic activity. He also noted the immediate dispersal of marine life from the affected area, followed by a gradual return over several days. As they continued their circumnavigation, they faced formidable challenges. Long stretches of calm, windless days would leave them adrift, their coal reserves dwindling. Mild storms, with towering waves that threatened to swamp the ship, tested the courage of every man on board. Richter navigated these perils with an unwavering hand, relying on his extensive maritime experience and his precise navigational calculations. He discovered a significant underwater mountain range, previously unknown, rising thousands of feet from the ocean floor. His echo sounder, a relatively new piece of equipment, provided intriguing data on this submerged landscape. He named it the Rudolf Seamount, after his ship, a testament to his ambition. After 3 years at sea, having circled the globe, the Archduke Rudolf returned to Pola. Captain Richter brought back an unparalleled collection of hydrographic charts detailing depths, currents, and newly discovered seamounts and islands across vast stretches of the Pacific. His marine biologist's collection included hundreds of new species, significantly expanding the scientific understanding of deep-sea life. Richter's meticulous records of ocean currents, weather patterns, and volcanic activity provided a wealth of data for climatologists and oceanographers. His voyage was not a dramatic pursuit of a new continent, but a systematic, scientific exploration that quietly but profoundly reshaped the world's understanding of its oceans. His findings became essential reference material for all subsequent naval and scientific expeditions in the Pacific. Number 6. Teresa Korda, explorer and artist. Teresa Korda was not born to nobility or scientific institutions. She was born with an insatiable curiosity and a rare gift for capturing the world through her artist's eye. Growing up in a modest household in Budapest in the late 1870s, she devoured books of exploration, her imagination ignited by tales of distant lands. While societal expectations pushed her towards marriage and domestic life, Teresa quietly owned her artistic skills, specializing in ethnographic portraiture and landscape sketching. She longed to see the places and peoples she read about, not through the second-hand accounts of others, but with her own eyes in her own hand. Her chance came through a fortunate connection with a minor geographic society. Planning an expedition into the largely unmapped interior of Central Africa, specifically the Congo Basin, they needed an artist to document the flora, fauna, and indigenous cultures, and Teresa, with her compelling portfolio and fierce determination, convinced them she was the right choice. Her journey began in a small port on the East African coast. The African interior, however, quickly proved to be a world away from the polite salons of Europe. The humidity was oppressive, the insects relentless, and the pathways through the dense jungle were often mere animal trails. Teresa, unlike her male counterparts, chose practical, lightweight attire, discarding the heavy layers of European fashion. She carried her sketchbooks, charcoals, and watercolors with the same reverence a soldier carries his rifle. Her primary medium was rapid sketching, capturing fleeting moments and expressions with astonishing accuracy. She often sketched her companions, capturing their weariness and their resolve. As they pushed deeper, they encountered diverse ethnic groups, each with their own unique customs, languages, and artistic traditions. Teresa was particularly drawn to their intricate body art, their elaborate hair coils, and the vibrant patterns of their woven fabrics. She spent hours quietly observing, her hand moving rapidly across the paper, capturing details that words often failed to convey. She did not merely draw faces. She captured the spirit in their eyes, the dignity in their posture. She showed a remarkable sensitivity to the culture she encountered, approaching them not with judgment but with genuine interest. She captured the everyday life of a village, the communal preparing of food, the rhythmic dancing during a celebration, the quiet conversations around a fire. She made a series of detailed drawings of local pottery designs, noting the symbolic meaning of each pattern. The challenges of the environment were immense. They traversed dense rainforests where the canopy blocked out the sun, forcing them to rely on their guides. They navigated treacherous rivers, their canoes almost capsizing in powerful rapids. Illness was a constant companion, with malaria fever striking down members of the expedition. Teresa herself battled several bouts of fever, but her will to document and explore remained unbroken. During one difficult period, isolated by heavy rains, she found solace in her art, sketching the intricate details of a rare fern or the iridescent wings of a beetle. She also made detailed drawings of the different types of canoes used by the riverine communities, noting their construction and adaptation. Her most significant artistic contribution came when they encountered a previously undocumented pygmy community deep within the forest. These people were extremely elusive, rarely seen by outsiders. Teresa, through her quiet demeanor and non-threatening presence, managed to gain their trust. She spent weeks living among them, sketching their hunting techniques, their unique dwellings, and their intimate knowledge of the forest. Her drawings from this period are incredibly rare and provide an invaluable ethnographic record of a people whose way of life was then almost completely unknown to the outside world. She captured their height, their tools, and the expressions on their faces with astonishing detail. One particularly striking sketch showed a group of men expertly setting a trap for small game, their movements fluid and precise. Teresa also made an important artistic discovery regarding rock art. While traversing a remote mountainous region, she was led by a local guide to a hidden cave adorned with ancient pictographs. The vibrant red and yellow figures depicted animals, human forms, and abstract symbols. Teresa spent days meticulously copying these images, tracing their lines with astonishing precision. Her reproductions of this ancient rock art, later presented to European scholars, provided crucial evidence of early human artistic expression in the region, predating previously known examples. Her work opened up new avenues for archaeological and anthropological research. She used a special wax paper to transfer the images directly, ensuring fidelity to the originals. After nearly 3 years in Central Africa, having braved disease, dangerous wildlife, and countless physical hardships, Teresa Corda returned to Europe. She brought back dozens of sketchbooks filled with hundreds of detailed drawings, a visual chronicle of a world then on the cusp of dramatic change. Her ethnographic portraits were celebrated for their sensitivity and accuracy, offering a humane and nuanced view of African cultures at a time when much of European art depicted Africans in caricatured ways. Her landscapes brought the vastness and beauty of the African interior to life for audiences who had only known it through dry geographical descriptions. Teresa Corda, the self-taught artist explorer, quietly redefined the role of art in scientific exploration, proving that a pencil and paper could be as powerful a tool as any compass or telescope in unlocking the secrets of the world. Her collected works became a vital visual record of Central Africa's diverse landscapes and peoples.